I have a story to tell you. I've said this story a few times in a few different places, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this either from me or Rabbi Wellstein. But I feel like it's such an important story that we must repeat it. So here we go. This is a true story. It happened in Chicago, and there was a family in Chicago. They had a young girl. He had a daughter. Her name was Miriam, Jewish family, and she went to an elementary school. It was the Hebrew Day School of Greater Chicago. She went there. She loved it, and it was time for her to graduate, 8th grade. And when she graduated 8th grade, her parents couldn't decide where to send her the following year. They didn't want to send her to the local public school. They wanted to send her somewhere with better quality learning. And so obviously that would be a private school. Now, the Jewish private school was about 45 minutes away from their house. And the Catholic private school was across the street from their house. So they felt like she was going to get a good education and good qualities from going to either one. So the one across the street from their house just made sense to them and it felt a lot more convenient. And that's where they sent her. So Miriam goes to this private Catholic school across the street from her house. She's there for 9th grade. And a few months in, she's no longer Miriam. Now she's married. She calls herself Mary. In 10th grade, she meets her high school sweetheart. 12th grade, they get engaged. She falls in love with a boy by the name of Tony. He's Italian. And it's the day of their wedding. It's a Saturday afternoon. Mary walks into her limo. Her bridesmaids are waiting in the limo for her. They're so excited. They're jumping on top of her. She's so excited. The wedding is called for midday, 12 o'clock in the local church. They're on their way to the church. And somewhere in the drive, the bridesmaids pull out a beautiful velvet black box, and they give it to her, and they tell her, "This is your gift. We love you so much. We love you guys. We're so happy for you. Please take this." She takes it, and she opens it, and it's a gorgeous, stunning, absolutely gorgeous, big, fat, thick gold and diamond cross. So she takes it out of the box, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, this is crazy. This is nuts. This is so crazy. What? This is huge. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness." And she takes it off. She takes it out of the box, and she puts it on her. And she's sitting in her limo. She's sitting with her gown. She's sitting with this cross with her bridesmaids, and she cannot be happier. She just can't be happier. Life is perfect. And on their way, they stop at a red light. And on the corner there are four very, very lost JEP girls. Now, JEP is a organization here in New York. It's called the Jewish Educational Program, where they basically inspire Jews all over in public schools, mainly unaffiliated Jews, Jewish kids all over, Hebrew Day schools, public schools, Kiruv schools, wherever it may be, wherever these Jewish kids are here in America. And they go in and they put on music and they play music and they dance, and there's it's so much fun. When I was in elementary school, they used to come in, and the second they used to walk through the door, I think his name was Rabbi Cass, the second he would walk through the door, all learning was dismissed. We would run out of our classroom, we would go into the auditorium, there was singing and dancing and loud music, and everyone was having the best time in their life. And that's what they do. They do Shabbatons all over the country. It's basically like a Jewish identity organization where they help kids that are not affiliated kind of like learn about Judaism and their roots and who they are and where they come from and what we're all about. An amazing organization. In any case, these 4 girls are counselors on this trip. They're from New York, they're from Brooklyn, and they have no idea where they are. They're very, very, very lost. They're staring at this map that they give out. I don't know if you've ever been to a Shabbaton, but they give out these maps that are usually not easy to follow at all. And they're looking at this map and they're trying to figure out where they are, where they're going, and they realize they're in a bad neighborhood. So one of them, and they're all arguing, they're all bickering and screaming at each other and whatever, and one of them just says, "Everyone just stop, I have an idea." And she walks up to this limo that's standing at the red light, and she sticks her head into the limo, and she says, "Hi, congratulations, I'm so sorry to bother you. I just have a quick question. Can you just tell me how to get to the Hebrew Day School of Greater Chicago?" So Mary looks at her and she says, "Sure, of course I can help you. I went there in elementary school. I know exactly where it is." So the girl looks at her and she says, No, one second, maybe I read it wrong. It's the Jewish Hebrew school of Greater Chicago. She's like, I know. I went there as in elementary school. I can tell you exactly where it is. It's a little bit difficult for me to explain to you how to get there from here. I don't know how you guys got here. You're really lost. So the bridesmaids are like, listen, we have to go. Like maybe they could just jump in and we can just drive them there. So Mary looks at her bridesmaids and she's like, no, they can't. It's Sabbath. They can't get in the car. So the girl at the window, the Jep girl at the window is like bugging out. Her mouth is like wide open. And she's like, so you went there? And she's like, yeah, I'm Jewish. My Hebrew name is Miriam. She's like, your Hebrew name is Miriam? And she's like, yeah. She's like, cool, because my Hebrew name is Miriam. Anyway, they start schmoozing, and the bridesmaids are like kind of like getting fidgety, and we gotta go. So Mary says, you know what, I have an idea. How about you guys walk tell the driver to drive us to that location. You guys walk behind us, we'll drive slowly, and we'll show you where it is, we'll take you there. So Miriam, the Jeb girl, says, great idea. And they get to the place, they get to the Hebrew day school, and Miriam asks Mary, she says, why don't you just come in and get a blessing from the rabbi? You know, we get married once in our life usually, so why don't you just come in and get a blessing from the rabbi for 2 minutes in and out? And Mary looks at her and she says, I'm so sorry, I can't, I'm so delayed as it is with this whole thing, I really have to go, everyone's gonna like really start getting worried soon and we really have to go. And she says, just come in for 2 minutes. Like this can maybe this didn't happen by coincidence. Maybe this was just like totally, happen like so you can get a blessing from the rabbi. And this is amazing. This is like your wedding day. So she says to her, okay, 2 minutes in and out. I'm just going to take off the cross. She takes off the cross and she puts it on the seat and she walks in. 10 minutes, a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour goes by. And finally she comes out. Now everyone is freaking out. This was like before the days of the cell phone, so like no one knows where the bride is. And the bridesmaids are not going in because they don't know what kind of religious organization that is, and they don't want to walk in, they feel uncomfortable. So they're waiting in the car and they bit off every fake nail they had on at that point. And she walks out and she sits down in the limo and she looks at them and she says, I'm not ready for this. I don't think I can go through with this. And they're like, what do you mean? And she's like, I didn't really think about what this meant for my family, for my kids, for my life. I didn't realize so much. I forgot. I need to think about this. I can't go through with this wedding. Anyway, that's the end of that. A few years later, a few girls end up by someone's house in Jerusalem Friday night for a Shabbos meal. For a Friday night meal, Shabbat dinner. And they walk into these people's homes. Like many times you walk into people's homes when you go away for meals that you don't really know, but it's fine because the Jewish people were one big family. So they're sitting in this person's living room and they're waiting for the wife to walk down the stairs to come and light her candles, and they're kind of just sitting in the living room and waiting. And all of a sudden this woman walks down the stairs wearing a wedding gown. Her wedding gown. She's wearing a wedding gown with a train and all. And she walks up to her candles and she lights her candles and she's standing there like this and she's making the bracha and she's lighting her candles and she's praying with all of her heart. And she opens her eyes and she walks into the living room and these girls are like gawking at her like, is she wearing her wedding gown? Is she wearing a wedding gown? What is this lady doing? And she walks into the living room with the train and all and she sits down with them and she's like, hi girls, so where are you from? And they're like, we're really sorry, but we have to ask you why you're wearing a wedding gown. And she says, oh, of course. Let me tell you a story. And she tells them the story that happened to her. And she tells them that she was the girl in the limousine. And she tells them that she was once Miriam, and then she became Mary, and now she's Miriam again. And she tells them that if that wouldn't have happened to her at that exact minute, her life would be totally different. And now she lives in Jerusalem, and she's married to a Jewish man, and they have Jewish children, and she's embarked on a whole different journey in her life than she would have living with Tony in Chicago. And Robert Wallerstein said this, and I think that this is so truthful, it's amazing. He says, many times in our life, God sends us red lights, where all of a sudden we're forced to stop and to reevaluate. where all of a sudden we're forced to stop and reevaluate our life. So many times it's in good ways that someone walks into our life and really, really inspires us, and we're at someone's house or we meet someone or we go to a class or something happens and all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, I'm blown away, and something I've never known or experienced, and all of a sudden I'm experiencing this thing and I'm in love and I want this and I'm inspired and I'm moved and I feel things I've never felt. So that's one way of bumping into a red light in our life, where God all of a sudden sends us something that happens to us, and an amazing thing that happened to us, a revelation of some sort, and we're just like floored, like, wow, I want more of this. How do I get more of this? And kind of like all of a sudden my whole life is altered by this thing. Or many times God sends red lights in ways, in difficult and more in harsher ways. People get sick, people get into accidents, someone dies, chas v'shalom, something happens, and all these things kind of force us to stop, to put the foot on the brake. Because in our life, we're kind of like, if we wouldn't get red lights, we would kind of be on this, automatic for the next 10 years. I know where I'm going, I know what's good for me, I know what I want, and I'm on a clock. So please get out of my way. And we have that choice in our life. When God sends us these red lights in our life, we have the choice of rolling up the window and saying, see ya, I know where I'm going, I know what's good for me, I'm not listening to anything, I'm not opening my ears or my eyes to anything new or different. And I just want to say that we can experience life in such an amazing way, even the most difficult and hard things in our life. We can experience them in such an amazing way because human beings are so huge and so amazing that instead of seeing this as something that's kind of like not fitting into my picture right now and really annoying, because I really had a schedule mapped out for myself, and I really had, I really know what's best for me. And instead of doing that, kind of like embracing the things that comes into your life and saying, 1 second, what can I grow? How can I grow from this? How can I expand from this? Maybe this is here to open me up. Maybe this is here to improve my life times a million than what it has been till now, or what it can be if I were running it myself. So this is a thought I really want everyone to think of, and to maybe see it in your life, where God brings you red lights, brings into your life red lights where you're forced to kind of stop and reevaluate. And you really don't have a choice because something out of your plan just kind of happened. And it's an amazing time in our life. It's an amazing time when we take this opportunity to stop and say, okay, let me see how I can grow from this and change from this. And then amazing things usually sprout from that and happen from that. So I give you all a blessing that when you do experience the red lights, you should notice that you're experiencing a red light and Hashem is doing something to you. And He wants you to stop right now, and He wants you to think different and see different. So number 1, be aware. And number 2, when you do have these red lights, I hope that you take them and run with them and really explore and really take it to the next level. And don't be afraid, because nothing good comes from fear. I give you that bracha, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for listening.